Hey Crafty Mavens, it's Vanessa, and today for my kitted up layout, I thought I would first share the kit, and it's a stash kit that I put together based off of the mood board for January. And you'll have seen the mood board at the beginning of this video, and if I remember, I'll try to put it up here in the corner, just so you have it for reference. But I kind of just pulled colors from that mood board, and I went with the pink, the yellow, the blue, and the green kind of range that was in that mood board. It had more colors than that, but those are the ones I kind of stuck with for this. I wanted to have something fresh and fun for the beginning of the year, and so I put this kit together, and I'm just going to go through real quick and show you what I pulled. And some of these items are new in the fact that I got them on my latest Tuesday morning trip, but none of the products are actually brand new, other than some thickers that I got for Christmas. But apart from that, everything else is stash. So this first piece of paper is what I took my inspiration from. So I use this as what I pulled all the colors that I'm using for this kit from. So this is from the My Mind's Eye Hello Gorgeous paper pack. And so I use this floral. And I plan to fussy cut these out. Then this is, all these papers for the most part came from paper pads. So I'm not exactly sure the original collections, but I think this was a Studio Calico paper pad, and it's really just a tone-on-tone crisscross design. It doesn't show up very well on camera. Just reads as really just yellow, but there is a subtle pattern in it. And then this was also from the Hello Gorgeous paper pad, and it has sort of like almost like a lacy pattern in it. But again, tone-on-tone, very simple, easy to use. This here is a peachy pink background with a white polka dot, and it was also from that gorgeous paper pad. This again came from, I believe, that same Studio Calico paper pad, and this again is more of like a tone-on-tone green, but there's a sort of like a grid pattern in it that you can kind of read on camera. This one as well came from that Hello Gorgeous paper pad. This blue paper actually is from a crepe paper collection, and it was the Boys Rule, I believe, is where this one came from. This is also another floral from that Hello Gorgeous paper pad. So this is the smaller floral of that bigger one. And I like the idea of being able to cut out smaller florals as well. And then these two pieces of paper here that are both a sort of rainbow paper, one in circles and one in stripes, were both from a Studio Calico paper pad. And so this one is all just little circles that go in that sort of rainbow pattern. And then this is the same one, but only as a stripe. So I love the colors. It actually goes really well with the floral paper. And so again, pulling all my colors together, I can use these in small doses on my pages. This is a cut apart that also was in that Studio Calico paper pad, as you can tell by the colors. And I don't think I will use everything on here, but a few pieces for sure that I will probably pull and add as, you know, housing for embellishments. So excuse me, or other just details on my pages. I pulled in a wood grain, and this is a basic gray from the Highline. If you remember basic gray, they were one of my favorites. So I liked this light wood grain. I also have this piece of Oasis paper from crepe paper, which was called Spring Break, and on the back it has the palm leaves, but I like it for the wood grain. Again, I'm sticking for a very light and bright color palette for this one. I also have from that Hello Gorgeous paper pad this pink wood grain, so I have lots of options for some really good backgrounds. And then last piece of paper is this Now and Then My Mind's Eye, and this was from, which one? The Mildred collection, so this is pretty old, but again, I picked it for this stripe. Now, from the embellishments and bits and pieces, I had just gotten for Christmas the chipboard from the Field Notes collection, so I pulled this in. Not everything will work, but the greens and these pinks, like the ones that are solid, definitely work with the colors in my kit, so I'm going to definitely use some of these up. I like having at least a couple of new things in my kits, and so that way I feel like I'm using my stash as well as using new products that make me excited. So I'm pulling that. For other embellishments, I have these Maggie Holmes word stickers, and I actually am using gold sort of as the metallic for the kit. So these ones up here that are gold will probably be the ones that I use, but I do have bronze if I want it. And then I have some Studio Calico stars in gold. Now, I'm not going to show you every single thing, but in here I have basically some enamel dots, just random ones that match the colors in the florals. I have a package of, again, more enamel dots. I have a package of cork. I thought I would use this in place of some wood veneer. I do have a little bit of wood veneer in my kit, but I thought cork might be kind of fun to throw in there. I have some labels. I have some library cards for maybe some hidden journaling. I have, again, some wood veneer that all go with the colors of the kit. Some puffy stickers. And then I also have in the back here just a few cut files that I thought worked with possibly with this kit. I have also some brads that match the colors in the kit. And then just some sequins to, again, use kind of here and there. They're just random mixes of sequins. So that's that. Now, the other things that I've pulled are just a whole bunch of ephemera. And like I said, I'm not going to show you all of this because as I do each page, you'll see what I pull out from these bags, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea. In here I have everything from twine to all the colors of the kit. I just went through my packages of ephemera that I sort by color, and they're just old collections and bits and pieces. There's some chipboard in here, as well as some wood veneer, and then I just went through all the colors and I just pulled different bits and pieces of ephemera that I thought I could possibly use. I have also some things like twine and ribbon and some additional cut files, some chipboard, some vellum. So all those kinds of things that what I'm thinking is because I pulled these things and I know they match my kit, I might even try to put some homemade embellishment clusters together, and maybe I'll put those on video as well for anything that I create for this kit as well, just so I have, you know, ready-made embellishment clusters already done that can go on the pages as well. So this is more the neutral sided embellishments. Again, I have some gold pieces in here and lots of fun things to choose from so that I don't get bored throughout the month of creating different things with this kit. I plan to use it for not only my Crafty Maven videos this month, but also my regular scrapping. So I am going to jump over now and we'll go through the layout, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. So first thing here that I am showing you is what I pulled specifically for this first layout using my stash kit that you just saw. And so I'm showing you the papers and all the sort of ephemera and embellishments that I pulled that I think I'm going to try to get put on this layout, or at least bits and pieces of this.
And so I'm going through each of the things here. And what I decide to do is, I know I have an idea in my mind. I know I want to use that floral paper, and I know that I want my layout to have 3 embellishment clusters. So what I thought I would do is I took the ephemera that I picked out of those bags that you saw were in my original kit, and I just took the 3 colors that I'm mainly working with, which is the pink, the yellow, and the green. And I separated all of the items by color. And what I'm going to do is here on video, I'm just going to go ahead and build out the 3 clusters. Now, I do end up adding a little bit to each of these clusters as I create the layout, but the overall design, I figured I would put them together on camera so you could kind of see how I go about putting homemade embellishment clusters together. So for this one, like I said, I know that I want to have 3 embellishment clusters on this page. And I decided that for each of those clusters that I would take sort of a tag. In this case, this first one I think is more like a clipboard sticker. But in any case, I was going for like a tag kind of as the very back element of each base for the clusters. And then on top of that, I'm going to layer bits and pieces of ephemera. And I also know that from that cut apart sheet, I knew I was never going to use that whole 3x4 card that said hello as it was. So I took my circle punch, which was a 2-inch circle punch, and just punched out that hello, and that will go on my layout as part of one of my embellishment clusters as we go along. So this first one, I am just building up the cluster. And like I said, I'm just taking a variety of ephemera pieces and some puffy stickers and just some bits and pieces of ephemera to build each of the clusters. I try to keep the colors obviously consistent between the 3. And I think in all 3 of the clusters, I end up having at least something that has words on it. So when I build my embellishment clusters, I tend to always try to keep the same color consistency as well as the same types of embellishments. So if I have word phrases on one, I will generally make sure that I have them on how many ever embellishment clusters I'm making for my page. In this case, there's the 3. And each one of them will also have a heart, as well as ultimately in the end, they'll have the phrase, and then they will eventually have some sequins as well as we go along. But I'm just showing you here, like I said, how I put each of them together. This is the only part that I actually show you on camera of me gluing things together, because I figured it wasn't going to take me too long to build each of these embellishment clusters out. And it's kind of nice to be able to see how I go about putting them together and which pieces of the ephemera I decide to pop up for a dimension, and then which ones I put flat. So all of the embellishment clusters, as well as having the same sort of elements between them, I also make sure that they have different heights for the embellishments that I put on each cluster. So oftentimes I will put some of the pieces up on pop dots just to give it some added dimension and some added interest. Now for this last embellishment cluster, I had this phrase that actually says, "Do more of what makes you happy," I believe. And it was obviously too long to go the way it was. And so I cut it apart there, you see, to make it fit for my embellishment cluster. And so don't be afraid if you have things like phrases or other embellishments that you want to put in a cluster, but they're too big the way they are. You can always cut them apart, and you don't have to use even the whole thing. Like if you just wanted half of a heart, or you just wanted half of the flower, you know, cut them apart and tuck them in. It really does add a lot of interest to your embellishment clusters when you do that. And it really kind of makes it so that it's not something that you end up just never using because of the size that it was originally. So I definitely encourage you to look at your embellishments and make them work for you. So if you love them, you know, do whatever you need to do to make them work on your pages. And so there you saw, those were the 3 embellishments. And now I am actually going to do a little bit of mixed media on my background, because I am pulling a piece of white cardstock here, and I have gone ahead and put gesso on this cardstock off camera because it does take a little while to get that to dry, and I want it to be able to at least show you my process for my mixed media. And it's pretty simple. I'm just really going to do the packaging technique, and I'm going to spread some color around with the packaging as well as my paintbrush and even my finger. I don't do anything really complicated, and a lot of times when I'm doing this, I definitely think to myself as I'm going along, like, this is a complete disaster and this is never going to work. But I generally have to keep telling myself, no, keep going, it gets better. And the other thing to remember when you're doing mixed media is a lot of this gets covered up. So don't be afraid to just put your color on, have fun with it. Mixed media is not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be fun and imperfect and homemade looking. And ultimately, when this background is done, you know, when I look at it without anything on it, I go, oh, it's kind of a disaster. But once I have the layout together, I really do love how this whole background came together and how it looks. Because like I said, most of this will get covered up. And so I did just want to leave it in so that you could kind of see it's very simple. I'm just going through each color, layering it on, and then I come back with some splatters, and I do that a couple of times. And ultimately, I let it just dry off to the side and move on with my page. But I really do encourage you to at least give it a just, you know, put them down and see what you can create. So here I'm just going to finish cleaning this up, and then I'm going to put this off to the side to dry. And there you see, I'm just looking at my photo and where I know my photo is going to go and seeing if I need to add more color. In this case, I did need to add a little bit more so that it would actually not be completely covered up when it was all said and done. And a lot of this, like I said, will get covered up. So the next thing here is I will finish up my background, and I do let this dry off camera. I will be doing a little bit more to this background here in a second once I come back after it dries. As I try to finish up this, I go back and forth multiple times with my finger and a paintbrush and some water and then a piece of paper towel to kind of dab up some of the drips. But ultimately, this is sort of what I do oftentimes with my backgrounds, is just go back and forth multiple times until I am happy with it. And here you see we have jumped ahead and it is finally dry. It did take a while to dry, and I did just kind of let it dry naturally so that it didn't warp too badly. And after it dried, I did decide that I want to rough up the edges, and I'm only going to tear two sides, and you'll see here in a moment why. You'll also see from my mixed media that I do have three sort of separate areas of mixed media on the page, and that is because I knew that my layout was going to have sort of those three cluster areas, and so that's why I just kept my mixed media to those three locations as well. So what I decided is I would tear my paper, and then I absolutely loved this stripe, this rainbow stripe pattern paper that I pulled. It matches the florals. Even though they're from two separate manufacturers, it really matched the colors in the florals, and I knew I wanted to use it, but I didn't want a huge amount. And so I decided to just rip the edge of my page and then go ahead and put this stripe with all the colors in behind to, again, make my page a 12 by 12. And so I'm just sticking my paper down here, and I do apologize. I have a new video recording set up, and I must have hit my camera or I moved my mat in such a way that for this few minutes here while I'm getting this stuck down, I'm kind of off camera on that one edge. I do bring it back over so you will see it, but essentially what I'm doing on this right hand side, I did the same thing on the left, only it goes all the way up and down the page. But essentially I'm just going to have that little colorful stripe of pattern paper peek out from both sides of the page. And I really love that pop of color. And then actually when the whole layout is done, it actually is it's a pretty busy layout in the fact that you'll see here in a second, I have off camera taken and cut a whole bunch of those florals out of that beautiful floral pattern paper that was the inspiration for this stash kit. And so it quickly becomes a pretty busy layout, but I love all of these florals, and that striped pattern paper really just kind of sets off the two sides and keeps some interest going on, you know, without backing the entire layout. It kind of gives it a little bit of a frame. So here I'm just going to lay out all three of my embellishment clusters, and then I won't make you watch me glue everything down, but I am going to get everything laid out so you can see how I sort of had it designed in my head of how I wanted this layout to come together. And I'm basically down the left side where that striped piece of paper is. I am basically putting a whole line of florals that'll go top to bottom on that side, and then I have taken the other two embellishment clusters that I created earlier and put those in each of the, one in the top right and then one in sort of almost the bottom right, but it's sort of closer to the photo. And so those are, like I said, my three embellishment clusters. I did decide to mat my photo, and I'm using both that yellow piece of pattern paper that I showed at the beginning as well as a pink wood grain that was in the original kit. And I have one of those journaling cards that I decided to put my journaling in behind my photo, and I have a Felicity Jane stamp. Sorry about my head there as well. And it just says one day at a time, and I'm stamping that on that journaling card, and that will be at the top of my photo, which will hold my journaling. And here I'm just going to add my title, which at first I thought I was going to call this Just Breathe, and then I have changed it, and you'll see in the still photos at the end that I did change the title to actually say Be Present. And just so it makes sense, this is a photo of me, and I don't typically do a one little word every year. And I don't even know if I would say that this is my one little word, but I guess in a way it kind of is. I wanted to do a layout for the beginning of the year just as a kind of note to myself, just to remember that I want, especially this year as my kids are getting older, and just in general, that I just want to be present and to just enjoy the things that I have, enjoy all the blessings that we have, and enjoy my kids and my family and just life in general, and just be present and not worry about decisions that we know we have to make this year and things like that, and to just know that, you know, it's all good, and to just be present. So that's kind of what this layout is, and here are the still photos. So guys, I will catch you on the next one, and if you are enjoying this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, as well as my link for my YouTube channel will be below. Catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.